My guest today is a trailblazer, not just in the world of technology, but in life itself. Recognized as one of the top 50 women in tech in the region, Sharon Ng brings a unique perspective to everything she touches. What I find most fascinating about her is how she draws a parallel between human beings and computers. Our DNA being the motherboard, our nerves the wiring, and our personality or conscience, which is the software. This analogy perfectly embodies her dual identity, one grounded in cutting-edge technology and the other deeply connected to nature. Sharon's love for the sea, surfing, and percussion drums speaks to her soul's need to be close to nature and her love for music. She credits her mother, who was her first mentor in life and not just dragon boat racing, for shaping her into the resilient, purpose-driven person she is today. Raised by parents who were both in law enforcement, Sharon learned early the importance of standing firm in her principles, her beliefs, and not backing down when they are challenged. Though her journey took her to Australia, which she fondly considers her home away from home, Sharon is always drawn back to recharge in any place that fuels her spirit. For her, maintaining optimal battery levels is crucial to staying on top of her game. It's this philosophy of recharging that has powered her success and continues to inspire those around her. Please join me in welcoming the champion of the recharge, Sharon Ng. Sharon, welcome to my podcast, Why, Who, and Where. It's really a pleasure having you talk to us this morning, and we're in the CBD in Singapore, among the skyscrapers, giving us a sense of us having arrived.
Good morning.
Good morning. I've known you now for some time, Sharon, and it's a wonderful what you've accomplished for yourself is nothing short of outstanding. I would like to probably start this discussion with where it all began, like school, college. What were you thinking when you were growing up, and how life then took you on the path that you're on now?
Yeah, I can talk for 3 days.
Yes, we can.
Sure. Thanks for having me here, Zubin. What a privilege to be kind of talking about this. We don't get a chance to share some of this side of our growing up and what made us who we are today.
Yes.
So I'm born and bred in Singapore. I'm the only child in my family. I like to say that though I was born the only child, I'm not the typical only child in my family. Given that's really the reason, because my parents were police officers, and I was actually living with my first year of my life. I was living in the 24-hour childcare for babies, and followed by the second year with my grandmother, and then the next 10 years actually with my auntie, my uncle, who has children of their own.
Right.
So it's not a typical growing up years for what you would think a typical only child would have. But actually, that also made me who I am today. I think having to live a double life. So I get to see my parents actually on some weekends only. And how I envy my classmates while growing up, where they can actually see their parents every single day. And so one of the things that when my classmates or my teachers were to talk about their family, I always have a sense of envy in a way that, wow, you get to see your parents. So even when they were complaining, they got a misunderstanding or they quarrel, but the minute I say, hey, you get to see them every day, I think puts people into perspective. Oh yeah, that's right. It's a bit more uncommon when I was growing up to have such arrangements. I think now maybe it's actually with the maids and
with the helpers and everything else. Yes,
it's pretty common nowadays.
Yes,
I think so. That's one part, and I was very sporty. I participated in all sports in school.
Right.
My favorite is actually swimming. So I actually swim competitively when I was younger.
Very nice.
and I was also part of the Singapore National Ladies Dragon Boat team, the youngest member since I was 9 years old,
Wow.
as the drummer. So I
Okay.
don't actually row, but because of my weight and I'm light, so I actually was given the opportunity to be part of the national team as the drummer.
Well, that's a job on the team. It is. You need the drummer. It sets the beat in so many ways. Very important.
And I love drums. So I later on in my life, and I love music. So I actually went on to learn percussion, and I do play drums when I go to church and play drums and jam with my fellow teams and friends as well.
So I just want the viewers to know that I am talking to a lady who has been in the top 100 women in tech in Singapore, and these are all the other things, other than being a very, very tech savvy professional. These are all the things that you do on the side, all the hobbies and the sports. Do you still swim a lot?
No, look at the size. So I've doubled my size, but I don't. But leisurely, yes.
Yeah.
Leisurely, yeah.
Okay. Okay. What inspired you to pursue the career that you then, chose? Like, how did tech come about, and when did you start having an interest in technology and then pursuing what you have?
Growing up, I always loved doing puzzles. Me and my mom, we play. She signs me up for a competition in puzzles and games. So I love having fun, and I'm quite competitive. I think at that time, nobody has computers at that time. It was. So I was always talking gibberish whenever I talk about tech to guys. Like, Sharon, can you speak English? So I actually learned tech, or I get exposed to it, I guess pretty much in my teens years, or going into teens, where I was helping a teacher on his micro mouse project in school. And I started to then be curious. I built my own PC at the age of 16. I went to buy all the parts in what they call Sim Lim Square.
Yep. I have worked there, so I know.
Yeah, and it only cost me like $200 to $400 to build a machine, and I actually had fun. To me, it's like Lego. And I built that for myself, and I had the help of my uncle, who's actually in the tech industry in the bank, JP Morgan. He was a software engineer at the time, and he taught me what I know.
Right. Right.
So it's really about having fun, playing, and to me, I was just very intrigued about what tech can do. I don't play games with it, and to my mom's astonishment, it's like, what is this black screen that you're on always? I was actually playing with DOS commands at that time. I was just fascinated by all the different commands that you can do. So it's started off through exploratory.
Yep.
And then I actually then took an interest in going deeper into taking during my teenage years, I actually take up courses. At that time it was database 4, Lotus 123, in those times, right? That was when I was exposed to more of the tech and applications, and that just goes from there.
Those were the Geminis and the co-pilots of that era, right? I mean,
yes.
Whether it was Lotus 123, Excel,
yes,
whatever, all those things as they keep coming out, because we see how people feel about new tech today, right? They feel threatened, they feel worried. And it was the same case at that time, because there was always the talk about jobs and everything else. But probably a discussion for another day. What do you think was a defining moment, where you got really, really, so it started exploratory, and then when did you get serious about it? How did that come about?
A defining moment, yeah.
There may be more than one.
Yeah, definitely.
I guess what I want to understand is, when did you say to yourself that, this is now, this is the path I'm taking, I like technology and I'm building a career in it?
Yeah, I think it started quite young, and I'm among my friends. I think I had the privilege of you know, parent support, and as well as I'm quite a person who makes the decision. I make all the decision. I make the decision of which school I go to, what I study, and all that. And I was very clear way before the time comes to think about what courses you want to take in when you go to university.
Right.
Way before that, and
So you were sure that
I was
you
very
wanted
sure
to go
I was
into.
definitely going to continue there. I think it's always a part of me. It just never goes away.
Right.
And in fact, I was talking about the teacher with who got me into the micro mouse. He was very proud. He was like, "Yeah, you're right at the time, right at the curve. Just it was, I would say, God's timing in a way, that that defining moment of being sure, being clear about the direction that I wanted, and I shared this with many people, with my friends and family. And at the time, computing or tech is not even something that people they phantom. It's the alien word, right? But I thank God that I followed my heart. I think there wasn't really like this is the defining moment, but I think I knew it all along that this is something that I'm interested in. Also because I keep a pulse about what I enjoy doing. I can't function if I'm not happy, and being clear about the vision of my future, and technology has always been part of it. It's kind of it's always been there in a way. Yeah.
Right.
I think the other defining moment I would say is, being a tech leader. I guess maybe I can share that, right?
Sure.
It was a time where I was just starting to lead a team. It was my first time leading a group, a tech team.
Right.
And I was a lousy leader, I think, at that time, because many times I were to look back and find, where's all the people, because I have an expectation that whatever I can do, I have this expectation that others can do also. So there wasn't any understanding that actually not everybody is made the same, and how important it is to actually bring your team along with you, rather than you running so fast and then realizing that your team is not catching up. That was, to me as a tech leader, a defining moment right at the start or early in my career as when we are leading teams. And so I thought I wanted to share that.
I think that's a very good point, because one of the things we see in many places, right? I mean, there's in search, you've heard of the old adage, we talk about, you want to kill a great sales guy, make him a manager or make her a manager, because sometimes they are so good and their standards are so high. I think they struggle. Sometimes the best coaches are not the best. The best players don't make the best coaches. Because they are looking at everyone from where they are, and they need to look at the perspective of the average person.
Yeah.
And I think so. You caught on to that, and that probably helped you transform as a leader, where you realize that you're not going to get that. All five fingers are not the same.
Yeah.
And you'll have to bring them all together.
Yes. I tell myself
Which organization was this at, by the way?
Microsoft.
Microsoft.
Yeah. I would say that this, I tell myself, do not forget this lesson. From then till now, that's like more than 20 over years, right? It's because it's so defining. It's just a defining aha moment for me. And also I thank the people around me, my peers, my leaders, that actually share with me about when I get discouraged, right? When you get discouraged, or when you're trying to navigate as a young leader managing a team, the lessons learned are just so it's get ingrained into my motherboard. It gets ingrained into how you then become, or how you then adapt your leadership styles going forward. And it's a continuous journey, and I share this with my teams for down the years who has a chance to work very closely with me, that I learn so much from them, and they can't believe it. Every time I say that, they can, what did you learn? I say, lots. And because I fundamentally think that as a leader, we are there to actually be, we actually need to have a good listening ear and a heart for our teams to build strong performing cultures and strong performing teams. Yeah.
And I had not thought of this question before, but it's just coming to my coming to my mind now. People might say it's all well and good, right? Having empathy, having understanding, servant leadership. I think we need more of it now than we need ever. But how do you make sure you keep the bar high? How does that, because many people think, being tough is the only answer to doing that, or being punitive might be the only answer to doing that. What was your, philosophy as a leader there?
Yeah, I joke with my teams that the way I learn as a leader is actually when I see a leader exuding the qualities that I aspire to be, I take a note. Likewise, for leaders who exudes qualities that I say, no, please make a note that you don't become like this. I would say that there's no right or wrong, because it really depends on your style and being authentic as a leader. I think do what you say what you mean, right? Deliver. One thing that helped me is actually to share the vision very clearly. So everyone in my organization can articulate what does good looks like, where are we going, and each and everyone from the most junior to the most senior understands what role they play in this organization and how they contribute to that vision. I think that it really helps the team when they know their place, then they know that it's just like a netball game, right? You have your positions. You play your positions well. This is and everybody knows where they fit in and how they will play and collaborate together, and that makes a winning team. And the test would be when obviously things doesn't go our way, when we have to climb mountains and challenges comes and we have to deal with difficult situations. Maybe not to the fault of the team, but it just comes, and it really puts to the test, and then we adapt. We adapt as a group to say, okay, we need to rehash how do we organize ourselves. And that has worked very well for me, honestly.
Excellent. We've talked about the success. We also know that success doesn't come easy. Tell us a little bit about the challenges you encountered along the way, in terms of your peer groups, your colleagues, your organizations. You were even in Australia for some time, and how was that? I mean, as a foreigner going there, most people come to Singapore. You were going from Singapore.
Yeah.
Share with us some of the challenges that really which you remember even today, or look back at, and maybe how you dealt with them.
Yeah, I should share this. I actually spent half my life in Australia. At the age of 22, I make a decision. And this is go back to being clear about what you want early. Is that I did my university in a national university. And since coming back to Singapore to work, I go back every year because I miss the country so much and the lifestyle. And so I decided I need to move to Australia. I need to move back to Melbourne, and that's what I did. So it's a good thing because actually I'm not a typical Asian tech leader in that sense. I do have all the good parts of I love the Aussie culture where people are just so spontaneous and upfront with their views. Obviously, the good parts, right? You take the good parts of it, and there's many things that grew me and craft me as a person when I was spending half my life there. So challenge, and I would say that there are going to be challenges every single level. Actually, every few years I'm in a crossroad. Every few years I ask myself, am I still doing what I love? Am I still especially when you in difficult times, like you mentioned, I find that I'm not the kind, and I kind of test myself as well, right? Am I the kind who, if I face a difficult situation or a challenge, what is my first response normally? And I think many people don't actually consciously tap themselves on this. Actually, it's a very good exercise. And for me, over the years, I find that every time I meet a challenge, whether it's difficult person, difficulty, or big challenges that come my way that I couldn't get through, I will spend time to reflect on, maybe it's a problem-solving thing, right? I'll find time to reflect on what is the root cause.
Right.
Yeah, what's the root cause of it? And then what help do I need?
Right.
What help do I need? Who can I get the help from? And in many times, I have to be bold to go out of my comfort zone, right? To then recognize, and you'll be surprised, maybe sometimes some of these challenges that we are facing, be it a difficult person, a boss, a leader, or stakeholder that you have to deal with that just doesn't give you the support that you need. That's a very typical challenge in many people's careers. How do you navigate that, right? That's a
Yep.
Yeah. Many times I find that the root cause is we tend to think one-dimensional. We should actually do a 360 when we do a reflection. And many times I come back to the root cause of what I could change. What can I change that would change this equation to give it a chance to turn it around? And when I focus on that, right, I feel empowered. I feel that I don't feel so hopeless. I feel that I am empowered. Okay, I'm going to change my attitude. I'm going to change my perception, and I'm going to take it another way around. And also, I will get supporters. I'll get help. I'll get allies, and I'll build my support structure network to actually help me, advise me to get and overcome this challenge. And I know I'm kind of giving a formula that I use myself, but actually this formula is so it can be automated in that way, right? Into how you then tackle whenever
Into our motherboard.
Yes. When we want to tackle personal, business, that's what I use for myself. And of course you adapt variables, right?
Yeah.
Does that answer?
Yes, it does. I was telling you probably a little while before, when we were talking before the interview, about how sometimes we are not the best directors of our own movie. And to me, that's like how a director would think. How do I make this scene better? How do I make this shot look better? How am I, and
Such a
and
great
that's kind of like, you're taking that, because every decision we make about our lives is like a director, and there are different players, right? Now, in our lives, we are the protagonist, and there will be many antagonists, and we've got to build the story. Only thing is, it's happening in real time. So, we've got to direct it well.
Yes, and the hardest thing I feel is when you choose to give up. That's where, we talk about mentors in our lives, right?
Right.
I have to say, my mother is someone that I have, she's passed on now, but she's someone who I still esteem as, her mental fitness, her mental grit, the never say give up and die perseverance is so strong. That's something that I took away from her. I mean, something that I learned from her from growing up. From simple things like when, as a child, when I fall down, she's not the kind of the loving mother that would say, "Oh, come," she's not that kind. She's more like, "Don't cry, stand up." She's a very.
She was a policewoman.
She's
Yeah.
very, and the kind that has very strong leadership and stern, and that's what my friends tell me. My mom's very stern. But actually, the other side of her was that she's the slowest swimmer in my family, my dad and myself. She's the slowest swimmer, slowest runner. Yet she finished a marathon. Yet she got, I think, a bronze medal for the fast walk thing. And she's also the captain of the national sailing team. She's just wow. She wows me through and through. And every time when I'm in pain, when I'm in discouragement or before a competition, my mom will always tell me, what you think, how you feel, whether you're going to win is very important. Your mental state of mind, okay? And I think that is what lives in me and carries in me. And again, that's part of my arsenal, right? In
Yes.
terms of what do you have in your toolbox. That's something that cannot be learned. It's really through the experience and through the years where you have it as part of your software, right?
Yeah. As someone who knows you now for some time, I also think it's now the legacy that you're carrying forward as a person, where you are that sense of encouragement and strength to people in ways you may not even know, But before, is there a setback that really put you back ever? I mean, I'm guessing losing your mother must have been one, in your life, such
Yeah.
the most important person probably. But if you were to look at your career, and was there ever a time when you said, how am I going to get out of this? Or was there ever a setback that you really were not prepared for that really put you back?
I would say that especially, I would say maybe I'll share one we consider a setback is where things are outside of your control, right? Where I did ask myself once in my career, wow, without my job, without my role, who am I? That
Great question.
Realization.
Great question.
That realization actually, it's not a major setback or anything. It's just suddenly there were a lot of tech industry goes through ups and downs and companies downsize and so when your fellow colleagues who you think are top performers got impacted, their roles get impacted and all that, and I was okay, but hey, nobody is indispensable, right? And at that time, I was encouraging my fellow colleagues and also going through a time of change, like, hey, maybe I should think about something else to do, right? Suddenly, I went to a stage of, wow, who am I without my role, my title? Who am I? This is the first time I asked myself that question. and I have to say, it is kind of a setback in a way that make you think about, should I change? Should I change as in change jobs, change careers, change roles, given that what's going on in the company and all this change? For one, I think change is definitely something that I embrace, okay? But there's always bad change and good change. Right. This one I will consider bad change. Bad, something that you don't have control over. And so I think along that line of, why, so how do I get out of this mode of self-identity? And that was also the time I decided, you know what, I don't want to have two phones anymore, because I was given a company phone. I don't have two phones anymore. I want to have my own phone, one phone that I do my work on, And also, I make some changes to myself actually after that realization that, and then answer the question: do I know who Sharon Ng is without the title and without your job? The answer was very difficult. It took me, I think, a good 6 months to a year of being accountable to myself to answer that question, because I feel that I have to prepare myself if it's me, right, in that position. And also to be, I mentioned about authentic. It's very hard to share comfort colleagues who are going through that kind of time where you feel, oh, I'm okay, I'm safe, right? It's very difficult.
Yeah.
And until you put yourself into that position, which actually, most people in their lifetime would have experienced some of this. And I would say it is a unfortunate setback, but how you bounce back is equally important. Actually, it's more important than how that thing happened. And I was very blessed that I have supportive leaders and mentors, as I mentioned, who actually provided their valuable advice, like, hey, maybe you can think of this, maybe you can think of that. And honestly, yeah, you do need to find out who Sharon Ng is and then come out stronger, even if you are not in that position today.
Right.
Yeah.
I think I also think this is it's testimony to who you are as a person, Sharon, because what you said there, most people tend to look out for themselves. When something like this, I don't know which tech downturn, because I've been through so many. We've been through so many in our lives.
There's so many, yes.
Now sometimes it feels like we are permanently living in one. And that's what and it makes me wonder if the world is now in need of leadership like never before, because good leaders tend to comfort you, right? And by comfort, I mean they tend to just calm you down, help you settle down, versus have you worried always about uncertainty and about whatnot, right? And we're not, and it's just how you think, and that's, I think, a leadership attribute where you're thinking not of yourself but of the others that are getting impacted. Let's maybe change tracks just a little bit. How much do you think innovation and technology has played a part in your success? You love technology.
Yeah.
We know that.
Yeah.
How much has that played a part in, what have you enjoyed most in a career in technology?
I love how we can use tech to enable things, automate things. I'm a user of my own technology. I build decision-making systems for myself. As a student, as a computing student, but before AI come into the picture, even AI has been around for a while, but it's just not as democratized today. But I actually built not an AI machine, but a software that I can actually talk to, and it learns. And it actually, I call it Eliza. So yeah, I can talk to Eliza. Good morning, Eliza. How am I? Or when I'm angry.
And this is something you made entirely for yourself.
Yes, entirely for myself,
Phenomenal.
of my own enjoyment in school. I even write. I was so interested in security as well, and it just keep clashing with my core subjects. And so my professor said, it's okay. Why don't you just come in when you can, and then you can also participate in the assignments. And this will not be counted to my scores, but anyway, I did it anyways. I actually wrote my first virus, friendly one, scary one, but friendly
Outstanding.
one. That actually takes a picture of the person in front of the lab and say, hey, you're just being, hacked. Well, it's just me. It's a friendly virus. It will self-destruct in 5 seconds or something like that. So I have fun with it. It helps me, as well as I see how it helps businesses navigate challenging problems in their processes, streamline all the tedious work, so that people can actually focus on strategic work.
Right.
Yeah. So
Right.
in many, many ways, even for my own family, I teach most of my family how to use tech. My parents,
Right.
for one.
Right.
I say, hey, you have a techie at home, you have to be cool techie parents as well, right?
I'm the help desk in my house, right? So
you are?
I am the help desk
I see.
guy. All
Awesome.
technical problems come to me. So
Yeah. So I think innovation, I would say, right? Because tech is such a big word. I would say innovation because it has tech, it has also other things that you put in there to make it something that is useful.
yes, yes. How have you balanced life in terms of professional, personal, with all the innovation that's happening and all the hobbies that you have? What kind of, is there like a rule that you follow, or is it just being in the moment? Different people work in different ways.
Yeah.
How have you balanced that?
For me, I think I have a ritual or regime. I learned about rituals when I did my executive MBA with NUS. One of my leadership professors was telling me the importance of rituals. So I was like, rituals? What's that? Sounds. But anyway, then I realized, actually, I do practice rituals. So I wake up early in the morning, and the first thing I do, so I have to have some self-time.
Yeah.
So meditation, self-time, go for a walk nowadays. And then I tell myself that to be productive, you need to learn how to relax and switch off when you do need to. So I don't advocate working on weekends at all, which is what I told all my teams. I don't want to see you on laptop on weekends because you really need to switch off.
Yep.
Right? It takes a skill to switch off, actually. So
it does.
Switching off and then take breaks in between. So in my careers, I've taken a couple of sabbatical. It's intentional because I feel that until you rest, you will not be your best, self. You come back fresh, right? In doing what you do. So these are some of the simple, I guess, broad stroke ways of how I balance. I will also be very clear about personal time. So certain hours, say after 6, after 7, full stop work, right? You have to, and also set aside time for your loved ones.
Yes.
On weekends. I mean, that's what I do.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, I'm sure it's nothing out of the ordinary, but do that self-time in the morning is a must for me because that's where I actually gather my thoughts, plan for my week or the day, and or even at night before I rest. I like to I read a lot, so I like to read, and I don't read novels. So my friends always joke about, yeah, she reads a lot, but she reads all the factual stuff, and that's true, and that's from young. I actually have my parents bought me encyclopedias when I was a kid. I like facts, so articles, factual stuff, financial stuff,
Data, insights,
learning about how inspiring stories about how people, what people do, and I gain strength and inspiration from these, and so hopefully that kind of helps.
I think I liked what I heard. You can't be your best if you don't rest. It's so important. It's probably you meet so many people nowadays who talk about diet, talk about exercise, but nobody's ever talking about enough rest to the body, whether it's let alone sleep, for even just laying yourself down for 7 to 8 hours, even if you're not sleeping, just being static, stationary, if you may. I think that's such an important and neglected, and probably most neglected part, I think, nowadays that people have.
I think so, yeah.
And I think it's the discipline of sticking to these. You're right, it may not sound out of the ordinary, but it's very hard to follow. There are so many distractions.
Oh yeah,
You
the
know,
phone.
Or the phone.
Put away the phone.
Let's watch a movie. Let's do something, and then off goes the whole. Yeah, somebody once said success can be boring. Because
really?
because of the discipline, right? You've got to have, but it's you've got to preserve yourself, I guess. And
Definitely.
because success is a marathon. It's not a sprint.
Yeah, you rest hard and play hard. If I were to just say that way, you rest hard, work hard, play hard.
Right. Yeah, that would be cliched enough for everyone to understand.
Yes.
Is there anything, when you look back on your career, is there anything you would probably have done differently? Do you ever reflect on, like, maybe if I'd had this opportunity, then, things could have been different, or if I had done that? Or does that ever, I'm not necessarily thinking regrets, but,
Yeah.
but this is just a reflection, like,
No, I would say that maybe if I were to think, it's probably starting much earlier, right? That means maybe realizing the things that I mentioned about being a good leader earlier,
right,
right?
right,
One part of me that is my ECA is also I enjoy investing in properties. So I started that part and that's why I read financial articles and things like that. I'll tell you a very interesting story how that actually happened.
Sure.
It was my first day starting at my role in Microsoft Australia. Actually, I started off, and my first day I was actually starting off flying into Hong Kong, and it was my first time at the business lounge at the age of 24.
Right.
So I don't not know what to do with the plates after I've eaten. So I've asked the gentleman next to me and say, do I leave my plates here or where do I put it? He said, oh, young lady, just leave it there. They will come and clear. And we strike a conversation. And it's a wonderful man from Adelaide and his wife. And he was the one who shared with me Warren Buffett. And that started my journey into the financial
Investments,
property investment,
properties,
etc. And so just a short snippet of that, where it came from.
Did you read Snowball after that?
Yeah, it's Snowball, and he sent me a book.
Right.
After that, my first Warren Buffett book, and then it just went from there. So I would say that if I would love for it to start even earlier, right? Even earlier, and or maybe more aggressive, before.
Right.
So, but I would say that as my dad always say, you live life like there's no tomorrow, and I said, yep, I intend to live it that way every day if I can.
Right.
And that was when I was quite young. Yeah. So.
Right. Right. Wonderful. Wonderful. For the people that are starting out there, or you're even in mid-career, right? You've now reached. You've seen a lot of success in your career. For people who are probably mid-career or starting out there, or even those who are looking at life late career, right, and in two minds about the future, what would your advice be to people, who are thinking about what should I do or what should I do next?
I think I will always go back to my why, right? My purpose, connect to, and what you enjoy. And I'll just say, do it. How many decades do we have? I would say, give it a go. Start small and give it a go. Give it a try. You might like it and it might lead you to somewhere. Or you may find that you don't like it and then you can pivot. There is no fixed rule. And for me, if I were to, I was trying out on, I know baking is not for me. I'm not a baking kind, but I cook. But look, take it in your stride and give it a go. Yeah, I think exposure is something that, as I was sharing with a lot of my friends, the benefit of getting exposed to something early has many benefits. because then when you're exposed, then you know this is not for me, this is for me, I tried it, nah. But if you're not exposed and you forever don't take that step out, then you will never know.
You'll never know till you try.
Yes.
Sharon, thank you so much.
Thank you.
For giving the time. It's been so insightful and inspiring at the same time. I really feel that this is going to help so many future Sharons out there and Shanes even. It's just it's wonderful to have had you talk to us today. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Appreciate it.